What is Samadhi? The state in which the unbroken experience of existence consciousness is attained by the still mind alone is Samadhi. That still mind which is adorned with the attainment of the limitless Supreme Self alone is the reality of God. When the mind is in communion with the Self in darkness, it is called nidra, sleep. That is, the immersion of the mind in ignorance. Immersion in a conscious or wakeful state is called samadhi. Samadhi is continuous inherence in the Self in a waking state. Nidra or sleep is also inherence in the Self, but in an unconscious state. In Sahaja Samadhi, the communion is continuous. What are Kevalia Nirvikalpa Samadei and Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadei? The immersion of the mind in the Self, but without its destruction, is Kevalia Nirvikalpa Samadei. In this state, one is not free from vasanas, and so one does not therefore attain mukti. Only after the vasanas have been destroyed can one attain liberation. Can one practice Sahaja Samadhi? Even from the beginning, even though one practices Kevalia Nirvikalpa Samadhi for years together, if one has not rooted out the vasanas, one will not attain liberation. May I have a clear idea of the difference between Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa? Holding on to the supreme state is samadhi. When it is with effort due to mental disturbances, it is Savikalpa. When these disturbances are absent, it is Nirvikalpa. Remaining permanently in the primal state without effort is Sahaja. Is Nirvikalpa Samadhi absolutely necessary before the attainment of Sahaja? Abiding permanently in any of these samadhis, either Savikalpa or Nirvikalpa, is Sahaja, the natural state. What is body consciousness? It is the insentient body using consciousness. Both of these must lie in another consciousness which is absolute and unaffected, and which remains as it always is, with or without the body consciousness. What does it then matter whether the body consciousness is lost or retained, provided one is holding on to that pure consciousness? Total absence of body consciousness has the advantage of making the samadhi more intense, although it makes no difference to the knowledge of the Supreme. Is samadhi the same as Turya, the fourth state? Samadhi, Turya, and Nirvikalpa all have the same implication, that is, awareness of the Self. Turya literally means the fourth state, the Supreme Consciousness, as distinct from the other three states, waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep. The fourth state is eternal, and the other three states come and go in it. In Turya, there is the awareness that the mind has merged in its source, the heart, and is quiescent there, although some thoughts still impinge on it, and the senses are still somewhat active. In Nirvikalpa, the senses are inactive and thoughts are totally absent. Hence, the experience of pure consciousness in this state is intense and blissful. Turya is obtainable in Savikalpa Samadhi. What is the difference between the bliss enjoyed in sleep and the bliss enjoyed in Turya? There are not differences in blisses. There is only one bliss, which includes the bliss enjoyed in the waking state, the bliss of all kinds of beings from the lowest animal to the highest Brahma. That bliss is the bliss of the Self. The bliss which is enjoyed unconsciously in sleep is enjoyed consciously in Turya. That is the only difference. The bliss enjoyed in the waking state is second-hand. It is an adjunct of the real bliss, upari, ananda. Is samadhi, the 8th stage of Raja Yoga, the same as the samadhi you speak of? In yoga, the term samadhi refers to some kind of trance, and there are various kinds of samadhi. But the samadhi I speak of is different. It is Sahaja Samadhi. From here you have samadhana, steadiness, and you remain calm and composed, even while you are active. You realize that you are moved by the deeper real self within. You have no worries, no anxieties, no cares, for you come to realize that there is nothing belonging to you. You know that everything is done by something with which you are in conscious union. If this Sahaja Samadhi is the most desirable condition, is there no need for Nirvikalpa Samadhi? The Nirvikalpa Samadhi of Raja Yoga may have its use, but in Jnana Yoga, this Sahaja Sthiti, natural state, or Sahaja Nishtha, abidance in the natural state, itself is the Nirvikalpa state. In this natural state, the mind is free from doubts. It has no need to swing between alternatives of possibilities and probabilities. It sees no vikalpas, differences of any kind. It is sure of the truth, because it feels the presence of the real. Even when it is active, it knows it is active in the reality, the self, the Supreme Being. What is the difference between deep sleep, laya, a trance-like state in which the mind is temporarily in abeyance, and samadhi? In deep sleep, the mind is merged and not destroyed. That which merges reappears. It may happen in meditation also. But the mind which is destroyed cannot reappear. The yogi's aim must be to destroy it and not to sink into laya. In the peace of meditation, laya sometimes ensues, but it is not enough. It must be supplemented by other practices for destroying the mind. Some people have gone into yogic samadhi with a trifling thought, and after a long time awakened in the trail of the same thought. In the meantime, generations have passed in the world. Such a yogi has not destroyed his mind. The true destruction of the mind is the non-recognition of it as being apart from the self. Even now the mind is not. Recognize it. How can you do it if not in everyday activities which go on automatically? Know that the mind promoting them is not real, but is only a phantom proceeding from the self. That is how the mind is destroyed. Can the meditator be affected by physical disturbances during Nirvikalpa Samadhi? My friend and I disagree on this point. Both of you are right. One of you is referring to Kevalia and the other to Sahaja Samadhi. In both cases, the mind is immersed in the bliss of the self. In the former, physical movements may cause disturbance to the meditator, because the mind has not completely died out. It is still alive and can, as after deep sleep, at any moment be active again. It is compared to a bucket, which, although completely submerged under water, can be pulled out by a rope which is still attached to it. In Sahaja, the mind has sunk completely into the self, like the bucket which has got drowned in the depths of the well along with its rope. In Sahaja, there is nothing left to be disturbed or pulled back to the world. One's activities then resemble that of the child who sucks its mother's milk in sleep and is hardly aware of the feeding. How can one function in the world in such a state? One who accustoms himself naturally to meditation and enjoys the bliss of meditation will not lose his samadhi state, whatever external work he does, whatever thoughts may come to him. That is Sahaja Nirvikalpa. Sahaja Nirvikalpa is nasa, total destruction of the mind, whereas Kevalia Nirvikalpa is laya, temporary abeyance of the mind. Those who are in the laya samadhi state will have to bring the mind back under control from time to time. If the mind is destroyed as it is in Sahaja Samadhi, it will never sprout again. Whatever is done by such people is just incidental. They will never slide down from their high state. Those that are in the Kevalia Nirvikalpa state are not realized, they are still seekers. Those who are in the Sahaja Nirvikalpa state are like a light in a windless place, or the ocean without waves. That is, there is no movement in them. They cannot find anything which is different from themselves. For those who do not reach that state, everything appears to be different from themselves. Is the experience of Kevalia Nirvikalpa the same as that of Sahaja? Although one comes down from it to the relative world, there is neither coming down nor going up. He who goes up and down is not real. In Kevalia Nirvikalpa, there is the mental bucket still in existence under the water, and it can be pulled out at any moment. Sahaja is like the river that has linked up with the ocean from which there is no return. Why do you ask all these questions? Go on practicing till you have the experience yourself. What is the use of samadhi, and does thought subsist then? Samadhi alone can reveal the truth. Thoughts cast a veil over reality, and so it is not realized as such in states other than samadhi. In samadhi there is only the feeling I am and no thoughts. The experience of I am is being still. How can I repeat the experience of samadhi or the stillness that I obtain here in your presence? Your present experience is due to the influence of the atmosphere in which you find yourself. Can you have it outside this atmosphere? The experience is spasmodic until it becomes permanent. Practice is necessary. Is samadhi an experience of calmness or peace? The tranquil clarity which is devoid of mental turmoil alone is samadhi, which is the firm base for liberation. By earnestly trying to destroy the deceptive mental turmoil, experience that samadhi as the peaceful consciousness, which is inner clarity. What is the difference between internal and external samadhi? External samadhi is holding on to the reality while witnessing the world, without reacting to it from within. There's the stillness of the waveless ocean. The internal samadhi involves loss of consciousness. The mind does not sink into that state even for a second. A strong conviction is necessary that I am the self, transcending the mind and the phenomena. Nevertheless, the mind proves to be an unyielding obstacle which thwarts any attempts to sink into the self. What does it matter if the mind is active? It is so only on the substratum of the self. Hold the self even during mental activities. I have read in a book by Romain Rolland about Ramakrishna that Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a terrible and terrifying experience. Is Nirvikalpa so terrible? Are we then undergoing all these tedious processes of meditation, purification, and discipline, only to end in a state of terror? Are we going to turn into living corpses? People have all sorts of notions about Nirvikalpa. Why speak of Romain Rolland? If those who have all the Upanishads and Vedantic tradition at their disposal have fantastic notions about Nirvikalpa, Who can blame a Westerner for similar notions? Some yogis, by breathing exercises, allow themselves to fall into a cataleptic state far deeper than dreamless sleep, in which they are aware of nothing, absolutely nothing, and they glorify it as Nirvikalpa. Some others think that once you dip into Nirvikalpa, you become an altogether different being. Still others take Nirvikalpa to be attainable only through a trance, in which the world consciousness is totally obliterated, as in a fainting fit. All this is due to their viewing it intellectually. Nirvikalpa is chit, effortless, formless, consciousness. Where does the air come in, and where is the mystery in being oneself? To some people whose minds have become ripe from a long practice in the past, Nirvikalpa comes suddenly as a flood. But to others it comes in the course of their spiritual practice, a practice which slowly wears down the obstructing thoughts and reveals the screen of pure awareness. I. Further practice renders the screen permanently exposed. This is self-realization, mukti, or sahaja samadhi, the natural effortless state. Mere non-perception of the differences, vikalpas, outside, is not the real nature of firm nirvikalpa. Knowing that the non-rising of differences, vikalpas, in the dead mind alone is the true Nirvikalpa. When the mind begins to subside into the self, there is often a sensation of fear. The fear and the quaking of one's body while one is entering samadhi is due to the slight ego consciousness still remaining. But when this dies completely, without leaving even a trace, one abides as the vast space of mere consciousness, where bliss alone prevails and the quaking stops. Is samadhi a blissful or ecstatic state? In samadhi itself there is only perfect peace. Ecstasy comes when the mind revives at the end of samadhi with the remembrance of the peace of samadhi. In devotion, the ecstasy comes first. It is manifested by tears of joy, hair standing on end, and vocal stumbling. When the ego finally dies, and the sahaja is one, these symptoms and the ecstasy cease. On realizing samadhi, does one not obtain siddhis, supernatural powers also? In order to display siddhis, there must be others to recognize them. That means there is no jnana in the one who displays them. Therefore siddhis are not worth a thought. Jnana alone is to be aimed at and gained. It is stated in the Mandukya Upanishad that unless samadhi, the eighth and last stage of yoga, is also experienced, there can be no liberation, moksha, however much meditation, dhyana, or physical austerities, tapas, are performed. Is that so? Rightly understood, they are the same. It makes no difference whether you call it meditation, or austerities, or absorption, or anything else. That which is steady, continuous like the flow of oil, is austerity, meditation, and absorption. To be oneself is samadhi. But it is said in the Mandukya Upanishad that samadhi must necessarily be experienced before attaining liberation. And who says that it is so? It is stated not only in the Mandukya Upanishad, but in all the ancient books. But it is true, samadhi, only if you know yourself. What is the use of sitting still for some time like a lifeless object? Suppose you get a boil on your hand and have it operated on under anesthetic. You don't feel any pain at the time. But does that mean that you were in samadhi? It is the same with this too. One has to know what samadhi is. And how can you know it without knowing yourself? If the self is known, Samadhi will be known automatically. Samadhi is one's natural state. It is the undercurrent in all the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. The self is not in these states, but these states are in the self. If we get Samadhi in our waking state, that will persist in deep sleep also. The distinction between consciousness and unconsciousness belongs to the realm of mind, which is transcended by the state of the real self. So one should always be trying to reach Samadhi. Sages say that the state of equilibrium, which is devoid of the ego alone, is Manu Samadhi, the Samadhi of silence, the pinnacle of knowledge. Until one attains Mauna Samadhi, the state in which one is the egoless reality, seek only the annihilation of I as your aim.